Welcome everyone to Unlocking the Power of Referrals. My name is Tara Christensen. I'm one of the National Customer Training Managers here at realestate.com.au, and I'm excited to have us all here today. Before we get started, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea, and community. We pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging, and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people joining us today. Now, we're here today to discover how to unlock the power of referrals, and honestly, this couldn't come at a better time. There's some valuable insights we actually get at realestate.com.au through our Property Seeker Report, which is an annual survey of Australia buyers, sellers, renters, and investors, and we find out what they're thinking, feeling, and doing in relation to property. And from that, we know a landlord's journey takes, on average, 12 weeks, and 36% of that time is spent exploring the market, while 13% is spent deciding on an agent and how to market the property. And while realestate.com.au is the primary resource for landlords during this journey, real estate agents are a close second, especially in regional areas. It's also interesting that 30% of landlords, especially the younger ones, rely on referrals from friends and family members. Landlords also look at agencies to find the right fit for them and consider the current listings, local market expertise, and references from previous clients as top 3 considerations. It's a good reminder of just how important those referrals are to achieve bigger, better results. But there's another source of referrals you may not be taking advantage of, or at least full advantage of, and that's between sales and property management teams. And that's why we have Fiona Blayney with us. With over 23 years of experience, Fiona has developed a reputation for being one of the best business, strategy, talent, and growth specialists around. Her energetic and motivational presence has ensured her popularity at industry events, where she offers more than just the stage talk concepts. Fiona connects deeply with property managers and other industry professionals, providing practical and insightful strategies that are tailored to create real change. Today, Fiona is going to unpack the value of those referrals and share how you can transform your referral process to unlock new opportunities, build your client base, and increase your financial growth. Now, before I throw to Fiona, one more second, Fiona, hold on.
Go for it.
Just a little bit of housekeeping. If you have any questions, and we love questions, there's going to be definitely a Q&A time at the end of this. Please put them into the Q&A area, so not the chat if you can avoid it, but the Q&A section of the webinar. And also, if you guys can hold on just to the very end to tell us how valuable you found this webinar, we'd really appreciate it. There's going to be a poll as well, so hold on for that Q&A. That's actually one of really valuable time as well, and as well as for that poll. And without further ado, I'm going to throw it to Fiona.
Oh, thank you so much, Tara. It's awesome being here with you. And I love that a statement that you made there around this concept of real change, because that's what we want to do today. I want to give you some real insights that we've seen work in businesses, the practical examples that you can utilize in your teams, whether you are a property management only business. And I know we may have some of those online or watching this session today. And of course, we've got our teams that are working together across property management and sales as a collective business. So part of my, I suppose, the preface for us in and around this space is the fact that if you are a PM only business, right, and you're on here and you're PM only business, I want you to overlay this concept of a sales team that I'm going to speak of today as a metaphor, right? As a connected metaphor for who are your referral partners, that significant group of people, individual, business, or otherwise, that you connect with, you collaborate with, and you seek to provide joint service. Because when we're in service for each other and the greater business, we can really start to reimagine what it is that we can achieve. And we're going to talk a lot about that as we go through our session today. So you would have heard at the beginning, I'm going to be pretty rapid fire. I've got around 30 minutes by which to deliver to you content that we could probably do in a workshop across a whole day. But when we kickstart on this idea, I think the very first thing, and I'm going to give you 6 elements today. The very first thing I want us to understand is that this concept that I want to make doing business easier. Can you please write that down in some format? I want you to think every day, every week, every minute, how could I make doing business easier? Because part of the challenge that I feel exists today in 2025 is that we have made doing business hard, right? We've disconnected from each other to an extent, or we're not as connected as what we could be. We're not seeking to create opportunities and support each other as businesses in achieving our overall goal. So part of making doing business easy, I've got a bit tongue-tied there, is this idea that, when we go in and out of businesses across Australia, the US, the UK, cross our ditch into our friends in New Zealand, wherever I am in the world delivering content, or providing solutions and support, is that businesses are making the request of me to solve 1, 2, 3, or 4 of these challenges. And that is, and you look at all this board here and you're going to be saying to me, Fee, yes, I want more time for myself or for our team. And that's the business owner, and the business owner and the team will also say, the team themselves will say, hey, so what do you need? Oh, I need more time. Okay. And I really want to reduce my stress levels. Fabulous. The business owner typically says, I'd like to improve the results of the business and I'd love to drive profit. But when we bring all of that together, the business owners, the leaders, the managers, they will share with me an overarching statement, which is for the entire organization, how do we drive results and improve profits, bottom line dollar profits, whilst doing it in less time with less stress? How do we do that for ourselves, all the way cascading through all of the parts of the team? Now, what I will share with you is that when we collectively come together, so for most of you, if you're online today and you're in the PM space, when we come together and connect in with the balance of our business, we can make doing business easier for ourselves. Vice versa, when the sales part of the business connects in with us, or we support them in connecting in with us, we together can make doing business easier, because things will take less time overall. The stress levels will be reduced because these challenges that we have are shared amongst everyone to find solutions. And ultimately, for the whole business and the individuals, we'll drive profits, and we'll do that by improving our results. And that, my friends, is how you make doing business easier, by doing things in less time, more efficiently, that reduces stress levels, that still drives results and profit. That's the holy grail. But what I know is this is a plaque that I've had with me for, goodness, probably 20 years now, maybe even longer. And it is, you can rarely see what is directly in front of you. You can rarely see what is directly in front of you. And quite often when we go into businesses, we're literally just showing them something that's already in existence. Now, when it comes to business, when it comes to building business, when it comes to building rent rolls, and when it even comes to sourcing sales opportunities, our clients, well, the opportunities, the vendors, the landlords, and of course then the respective purchasers and tenants, they are perhaps sitting right in front of you, but we're not utilizing all of the opportunities that present themselves. I'm pretty passionate about this, and when we don't connect, we lose those opportunities altogether, and they become available out there in the open market for everybody to grab. So how do we do this? Well, historically, our businesses have been quite siloed. When we go back over the journeys, we've all been, if you think about it, even just physically on the floor of an office. When I first started in real estate back in 1992, some of you weren't even born then, I know that. But when I first started them, we're all in one location. Everyone's sitting right next to each other. You've got the sales guy next to the PM, next to leasing, next to a director, and so forth and so on. And so that connection, there was no siloing. But as businesses have grown, particularly in that property management sector, and we've seen mass growth, we've seen the significant understanding of property management and the value and importance it plays in the overall business concept, is we started to silo things out. So we started to silo property management. We started to silo sales. You've potentially had commercial and maybe some other business units that we see over time. And now that would include things like finance arms or surveying arms, etc. So what we end up with is this siloing actually means we don't know what's going on over in the other silo because everything's disconnected. Next thing I want you to be thinking about is to make doing business easier, we have to connect the silos. So ask yourself that question. How am I connecting in with the silo? How am I connecting in with the sales team? How do we share an understanding of where we're going, what we're doing, how we're getting there, and how we can help each other? How do we do that? Not just culturally in a Christmas party, a birthday cake, a hello, a welcome letter, a town hall conversation, but how do we really understand how we can connect the silos to support the growth of the overall business? So your big question to take away today is how? Because from there, we can start supporting each other. And that is, of course, when the referral process starts coming in. Number 2, value the matrix. Now I'm going to step you, we're going to do a big circle back to this silos, okay? So we understand that we need the silos. Number 2, we're going to value the matrix, the client matrix. Now, what is the client matrix? This isn't some fancy, international movie, but what it is, it's about understanding the client. I truly believe that there are limited businesses in the world, right? We come back to Australia, but there is limited businesses in your community right now that really understand the human and has the opportunity to understand their human, their client, their customer is actually walking down their street. Okay, I want you to think about this for a minute. What business do you have other than, say, a retail store, a supermarket, perhaps some other kind of localized environment like a restaurant or a school or a community center type of business, where I can come out the front door of my business and I look around and every single human, every single client that I can see in my vision participates in my market. Why? Because they live in a property that they own or that they rent. They're going to buy a property, they're going to lease out a property, they're going to move around, have all those transactions that take place. That is the beauty of real estate. And that is the client, the customer of that overarching business. We know statistically that in any location, on average, across Australia, you can, of course, speak with your realestate.com.au account manager, who'll perhaps be able to give you some greater data on this for your specific location. But 31% of those people in that market rent and 66% of them own. Now, of course, there's some variances around that for public housing and so forth, but these are the averages in our location. How amazing. That means that of every person you meet, there's a 31% chance that they are going to be a tenant, and there's a 66% chance that they're going to be an owner. Now, of course, we can then start to drill down into the percentages of people that own property in your own market. Heaven forbid you then go down to the franchise model, the group models, the network models, whereby you have people that cross-section across the various states and territories in your model that own properties in locations from the other states and territories. You can see the list goes on. But for me, my question to you is, you can actually work out, and we're not going to do this today, but you can work out what dollar value through management fee revenue, through sales commissions, what value on average every human contributes to the revenue of the the real estate coffers for that year ahead. And so what ends up happening is we end up in a space where that consumer that we've just met actually, as crassly as this sounds, has a price tag, has a value. Now, of course, I am not going to be silly enough to say that our industry, and I do not believe this, yes, we are, of course, a for-profit industry, but we also come from a place of service. I know that all of you online today, you love real estate, but most of all, you love people. We love the idea of helping people move. And my thing is that when we start to understand the transactional volume in our marketplaces across leasing and sales, vendor, landlord, purchaser, tenant, we can also start to build a diagnosis of what the impact is of building connection as an overall business with that human walking down the street. Now, quick little sideline of a rent roll, we know that on average across the country, 5% of that rent roll will sell every year. Now, if you're doing the right things and you've got a high quality property management service, okay, people feel served, they feel connected, they feel valued, you've done the appropriate functions across the year, 4 of the 5, so 80% of clients will sell through the agency that's been managing their property. Right? 80% will sell through the agency that's been managing their property. So we're going to talk about that as we're going through to understand why it's important that you build this team connection in order to connect with every single one of those humans that's walking through your marketplace that contributes to your market to reduce the time it takes to build a new connection. Why are we building a sales connection but not property management connection? Why are we building a property management connection, but not sales? Imagine you're building an overarching real estate agency service provider connection. Now, yes, of course, I've got one primary contact in your business, but they're being served across all their property needs. Don't get me started on that role as a function of a real estate business going forward. But building team. So how do we do this? When we come together, we need to understand that when we have a team in our business, overall team, not divisions, not silos, overall team, that's a group of players that form one side in a competitive game or sport, right? So you're a team. If you're a team and you're going to be competitive, you've all got to come together as that team, not the siloed positions, right? We're not talking the siloed positions. The goalkeeper in our business would be a division. The wing defense would be a division. No, no, no. When everybody comes together, we are all part of the Australian netball team, the Australian soccer team, the Australian cricket team. We are one team, all seeking towards achieving the same goal. Now, everybody's contribution to achieving that win, whatever that ultimate level of success is for the total business, everybody contributes, but we also must need to know what is that overall goal. So my question to you today is, have you shared your goal with all of your teammates, with all of those silos? Does everybody understand what we are collectively doing? So what is win in 2025? And then what is the key roles of all of those positions? Does that make sense to everyone? So what I would love you to go back and do is share that information. And then what we do as divisions is we start to discuss how can we support the achievement of each other's divisional goals that leads to that ultimate win as a business. Now, when we come together to do that in our business sense, that's where the magic happens. Because I know what's important and what we're working towards for, Michelle in sales. And then I also understand what's going on with Julia in BDM. And how can those two people perform functions for each other whilst performing their own roles, supporting that. And the first way to do that is to embrace what I call the club. Your database, it's not a database. What is that anyway? A database to me is this yucky word, which is just a collective amount of data. These are people. This is the club. This is the Real Plus Realty club. And how do I get people into that club? We want to have as many people in your club as possible that are carrying a club card. Now, ultimately, to get a club card, well, you need to fly, right? So if we think about the whole club concept, for me, I fly Virgin. I fly a lot. I'm always in Virgin. And guess what? I love the club. Now, I might not love its food every day, but I'm part of the club. So in your club, it's your rent roll. It's your property management business. I want to be a card carrying member of that PM business. Because for my sales team, I want them to know that when one of our properties, an investment property in our market, is carrying a club card, 80% of the time when they sell, they'll sell through us. 80% of the time, they'll sell through us. So if we have 100 properties, over the duration of the lifetime of those 100, 80 of them should sell through us. Think about that data. Think about those numbers. If you've got 1,000 properties on your rent roll, 50 of them will sell this year, 40 of them will sell through you. Now, I know in different markets, we've seen massive peaks of that. I've seen businesses at 20% turnover of sales, rent roll sales in a 12-month period over recent years. That's some pretty big revenue and some pretty big moments of service that create further opportunities for everyone. Now, when I'm in the club, I'm only flying Virgin. I'm not flying Qantas. I'm not flying Jetstar, right? I'm flying Virgin. Why? Because I got the club card. That's my 80%. How aligned is your team across your business with getting everybody in the club? The people that are in the club, how aligned are we at ensuring that they're only flying when they buy, that they're only flying Virgin, they're only flying sales, they're selling their homes, their investments with us. Now, where you mentioned earlier, Tara mentioned around this sense of referral. 30% of people, right, rely on referrals, our younger landlords, our younger marketplaces. So when we think about that, all of those people in your club, when somebody asks me who I fly, I say Virgin. Right? When we think about that, then that just exponentially grows out that market like a wave, right? And we want to make sure that we're doing that, because when we have that club, then as property managers and as sales agents, we want to work together to uncover these opportunities, formerly known as prospecting. I love to do one thing, and that is old school, ask the question. So how can we collectively, our sales business and PM, ask the right questions? You've got to ask the questions to find out the information that you want to know, not the question necessarily that you want to ask. So I'd love you to look at that script and dialoguing around what are some key questions that you could ask your club and also those prospective vendors and purchasers. What are some of those key questions that could be asked to discover? Do they have investment property? Are they thinking about buying investment property? Do you own another home in the area? Do you live in the area? Do you have friends or family? Are you thinking about buying in the area? Are you thinking about transacting your current home? Now, there's a whole myriad of ways and other pieces of dialogue that you can use to find out that information, right? Now, we don't have time to do a full scripts and dialogue, but just to give you some key insights, over in property management, a question you can ask is, it's an assumptive question. So we're assuming they have a property, we're assuming that they're selling, or we're assuming that they're renting. So when I ask an investor, I've got the rental property for them, I can say, how are your other investments performing for you at the moment? If I'm over in the sales business and I'm doing prospecting calls, opportunity openers, I'm going to make that call and I can say things like, so how are your investments performing right now? Now, I'm saying that in a clinical way. You'll put your own vibe on that, but we're assuming they've got investments. When we open that question up, we're just uncovering the opportunity. We don't need to do the sell. We just need to uncover the opportunities. And when we're uncovering the opportunities for each other, then we can go to a place where we can start to nurture the client by sharing the data, by the club opening up across the whole business. So we now have people that have the club card, but we also have people that are just connected in with the club. So they might not be a frequent flyer right now, but they are certainly aware that the business exists, and it becomes their choice when they are utilizing one of those services. So for Virgin, it might be Virgin Flights, it might be Virgin Wine, it might be Virgin Active, it might be Virgin Holidays, etc., etc. And so in this business, we're saying, if you're a frequent flyer, you've got the club, you're part of the club card. We're nurturing you a little bit differently. But hey, you know what? If you're one of our clients, one of our connections, we want to nurture you because you right now are a participant. You can be identified by us through something that connects us together, and that is the property in which you reside or the property in which you own. And imagine now if we actually worked together as a PM business and a sales business to build out this bigger club, to build out the data points and the relationship building. Imagine if we had a scoring system, say as an example, I call it a stickiness rating, right? How sticky are these people with our business? How connected are they with our business? Who do they know? Do they know us? Do they like us? Do they trust us? Do they use us? We've got to be seen by them, but then it's our job to ensure that we are known to them. And how are you going to bring that together so that you can ask and understand all of the property needs of these clients, of the client matrix, of the 360-degree human who's walking down the street in your area, participating in every single one of these properties. And then we start to move into this fun, funky place about communication and client nurture, connection, marketing, right? Awareness, being seen, being known. But instead of doing it in a silo, we start to consider, how do we do this overall? How do we connect the client in your community across all of the elements of your business? What is our core philosophy, our core connection, our wider communication with these individuals? How is it that when I'm speaking with a landlord or a tenant, a renter, a rental provider, what are some of the key insights to open the opportunities to gain the connection so that I can flag them as to where that opportunity exists? The same thing, and that's for the sales team, right? Because by the way, to build team, to build connection, to build relationship, I need to actually, that whole law of reciprocation, what I want the sales team to do for us, guess what we need to do for them? The same thing. And sometimes you got to go first. So how can we uncover, when we're having our conversations, our appraisals, our rental referencing, our when we're going around on the ground in streets, inspections, appointments, how can we be looking always, not how, but looking always for those opportunities of people that we can introduce across to the sales team? And then we can do the same thing, creating an overall communication strategy, constantly looking to ask for business. People want to be loved and nurtured. They want to be wanted, and they want it to be authentic. We love doing business with people that are just like us. Now, of course, as you're going through that whole process, we end up in a space where it starts to become easier. Now, I could talk to Steve Jobs and I could share that great things in business are never done by one person, that they're done by a team of people. But I think it is done and said far better by Mufasa. Because if you want to go fast, you go alone. If you want to go far, you go together. I know that when you break down those silos, you come together as a team. Even though you have individual goals, divisional goals, you have an overarching vision and you will go further together. I'm going to be here online now. We've had a bit of a synopsis today. Let's jump into some Q&A and see how we can expand out some of these elements in real time for you, for your business. I know that there's an enormous amount of business.
I have a question for you, Fee.
Please, Tara.
So I'm an introvert,
Yes.
and I find it difficult to approach the salespeople like, like a great extrovert would. What are some tips or tricks or ideas that you have so that I can, have float these ideas, this fabulous idea past the sales team or even to my principal?
Yeah, what a great question. So I'm going to give a few different answers there, because the first thing I will share with you is a bit controversial, is I don't believe in scripting. Okay, so I don't believe that I can give you an exact script right now that you would then be able to go and regurgitate, because it's not going to be natural to you. It won't be innate, and it'll sound like me and not you. And if you are a quieter and more considered person perhaps than me, that it's just not going to flow, right? You'll look weird. So a technical term. But what I would do is, the first thing is, I really would love you to identify that you are helping them, right? So when we come at anything, particularly for PMs, we find this very difficult, because we don't want to be salespeople, right? We have this kind of quintessential idea of what a salesperson is, right? The slick back hair, the Audi driving, fast talking, smooth operator. But we know that that's just a stereotype. So in an idea to not be like them, we then kind of shy away from everything. And we don't want to ask for something for ourselves. So you could come off this session and say, hey, I just had this, I was in this session today, in whatever colloquial way you want to say this, and share with them, I don't know if you're aware of this data. I just thought this data might be interesting for you about investors, and about how 80% of people that have their property managed are actually going to sell it through the agency that manages it. So I thought, if I could help you get more of those investors into our rent roll, then it would just make it easy for you to secure them, to sell them. Would that help you? And so everything coming from a place of, what can I do for you? Because people, that law of reciprocation is, if I start doing some stuff for you, I don't know what a statistic would be, but I'm going to say a high volume of people would innately want to do something back. It's like, if you go to somebody's home for dinner, you don't turn up empty-handed, right? It's because they're making you a meal. Quintessentially, you bring a bowl of wine, or if you believe the ads, a box of Cadbury's favorites chocolates, right? So it's that whole place. I would do that. If I would give this webinar, I'd send the link to your business owner and say, hey, you've got to watch this. This is really smart. I watched this today. And P.S., a business owner will love that you watched a webinar, some content that is going to help them build their business. And so taking that to them, or just emailing it to them and say, hey, I watched this today. There's some really interesting things in there. Do you want to watch it? And maybe we can chat about it, or let me know what you think. And that might be a little bit more of a kind of not as direct a way to do that. Or there's typically somebody in your team that's a little bit more vocal than you, and you can always bandy up with a friend.
Around those referrals that and motivating people, paid versus unpaid referrals. How do you motivate people who might expect a monetary reciprocation in return for some of their referrals?
Yeah. So first of all, without getting into the legalities of that in your particular state or territory, of course, there are businesses that have done that over years, and there are different ways to do that. Sometimes there is a monetary component to it. But what I have found is that the money alone will not create the referral. The relationship, when you have a partner, so you're talking about a referral partner, a partner is not necessarily monetary related. Like, if I was to have a business partnership, as an example, you and I were to go into business partnership together, the partnership part, the connection with each other, the sense that we're supporting each other, that we have aligned goals, that we are both going to benefit outside of simply the financial dollar value that comes with our partnership. If we make sure we have that, that is going to be a significant, connected, long-term, mutually beneficial partnership. If it is just based on money alone, I do not see that is a longer-term relationship. And you really, with a referral partnership, you want to build longer term, because you're referring to them as well.
Yep.
So it wouldn't matter how much money you gave me. If I don't believe in you, then it wouldn't matter. I wouldn't, if I didn't believe in realestate.com.au, I wouldn't be here, right? I just wouldn't. So it doesn't matter. That's just part of my value construct. So, I think that that's a really important thing for everybody to remember. And somebody will say, I get calls all the time. I had one the other day where somebody was, doing a really significant financial amount for clients to join them as a landlord, right? In their competitor was, sorry. And they were very concerned about this. But over time, it doesn't matter because they've got the connection, they've got the partnership. And that's what has actually been the bigger driver around it all. And sometimes financial value comes in that transaction as opposed to like from the transaction as opposed to with the transaction, if that makes sense. So that is going to be a bigger business consideration, but it's not the only way to do it.
Now, I'm going to venture a little farther outside the field of referrals,
Okay.
and talk about leads. Let's say especially I'm starting my business, or I've just changed businesses and I've got to kind of prospect all over again, cold leads. How do I find them? Do you believe in them?
Again, I think in our business, I don't know that there is any such thing as cold calling, right? Because we are in property. If somebody was to ring me about a timeshare in Queensland for a retirement property, right? Just I'm talking about me as an individual. That's not, I'm not in that market. But if somebody was to ring me about property, about where I live, because the client matrix puts me in the space where I'm walking down the street of that area, then provided that the person is authentic, they've got something of value that they're sharing with me, it's not going to necessarily be on the first call. It might be on the second or the third, and I've also got some other information. Maybe there's something that's been sent to me personally. It might be a video message that you've sent. It might be a text that I've received. It could be some other email correspondence that you might have dropped into my DM. It's a multifaceted approach. But when you pick up the phone from a perspective of the client doesn't want to talk to me, they don't need me, then that is cold. And it's not only cold, it's like it's ice. When I speak to somebody or I pick up the phone and I know that person owns 22 Smith Street, I think to myself, and I have to know, I have something of value that I really would want to share with that person at 22 Smith Street. And when I do that, I am coming from a place of service to help. If I come from the place to get, it's like asking somebody to marry them the minute you walk into a bar and being serious. Like it's just, that relationship is not of value. So I want you to build relationship by sharing, and if you're calling someone, it's like, how can I make a friend today? And being aware that not everybody wants to be your friend. Shock horror. Not on the first go anyway.
I don't believe that, Fee. I'm sorry. I think that's all the questions that we actually have. Do you have a way for people to get in touch with you if
Yeah, absolutely. The best way to grab me is obviously Fiona at realplus.com.au. That's of course, my direct email. That'll hit me directly. There's no, you're not getting to a PA or anything like that with that. And of course, if you have any specific questions, you can email that. I will give you a call back. And then we'll have a little bit of a chat around what might actually help you and your business. I love doing this. It's my jam. So no one's an inconvenience. I would absolutely love to help you grow your business this year. And I totally believe that 2025 can be your best year in business yet, your best year in the profession yet. It's just a matter of what you need to do to make that happen, and breaking down these silos, working together collectively is it is the way to make doing business easier. It doesn't have to be hard.